So have you ever been someplace really extravagant? Someplace that's like the place of your dreams? And then while you're there, wonder why everyone's not having the same experience? For me, that's walking down the beach in Maui. I've done that hundreds of times because my parents retired there. And the interesting thing is, whether I'm walking by myself, or I'm walking with Jean, or I walked with my mother, or I walked with my children, as I'm walking down the beach, you watch the individuals that you pass, and they're all having a different experience. And what's fascinating is that Maui is considered to be like paradise. It's considered to be the greatest place to be. It's a place where everyone associates with extreme happiness because you've got the beautiful water, you've got the tropical weather, you've got the mountains, you've got the greenery, you've got the flowers, you've got fresh air, you've got phenomenal food. You've got everything there, and you're away from all of the rest of society. So you are there and you've let go. So why is it that when you're walking down the beach, a few people have big smiles on their faces, and a majority of the people won't even look up at you? They have frowns. They are steep down there. And you do this for a period of, say, you're there for 10 days, and it's the same people walking the beach, and the expression doesn't change. The question I ask as I look at these people is, what do they do, or what is happiness for them? So I want to explore this idea of what does it mean to be happy? Why is it that some people can be in the exact same place, doing the exact same thing, surrounded by the exact same people, eating the exact same food, and there will be a few magnificent people enjoying themselves, others having a so-so experience, and a bunch of others numb? What is it that causes that difference? I think the first thing is we have to explore, what does it mean to be happy? I think the idea that was presented by Raymond Charles Barker is that we have to have a general satisfaction with where we are, and a knowing about where we are going, and an enthusiasm about going there, taking each step. But while taking each step in the direction, we're still happy or satisfied where we are. You see, I think the key to unhappiness is wanting to be somewhere and wanting to be there so bad that we don't like where we are. And the idea is right where we are is perfect. There is nothing wrong. So today, as you look around, you are in a Westin hotel. This is a beautiful hotel. This is a 4-star hotel. We have air conditioning. You are around people right here, right now, that obviously think in alignment with you because they're hearing the same message. So you're in a place where there is no judgment. There is no one judging you. No matter what you came with, no matter what your past experiences, you're in the same place. So to say, okay, I can be happy right where I'm at. And where I'm at right now, I don't have to think about the past. I don't have to think about where I'm going or what might be facing me. I can be so fully alive right here now that I have a satisfaction within myself. And in that satisfaction, I know that this is what I've created. Because we talk about this over and over again at Agape. We talk about the idea that we believe in a universal power, a universal presence that's everywhere. We call it consciousness. Quantum physics calls it consciousness. Quantum physics says that consciousness is the ground of all being, meaning that consciousness is behind all creation. And so everything is a reflection of consciousness. Our bodies, this hotel, everything is an outpicturing of consciousness. So the only way that we can change is to shift our consciousness, which is to shift our thoughts, which is to shift our beliefs. But we become numb, we become brainwashed into believing that having more things, having different people or a specific person in our life is the key to our happiness. Isn't it interesting that there are rich people that are happy and rich people that are sad? Isn't it interesting that there are women who are happy and there are women who are sad? That there are men who are happy and there are men who are sad? That all, take any ethnicity, take any type of way you want to break up society, there's happy and there's sad. So it's not particular to any one type of person. It's something that's out there. So what is the common thing that all people have? They think. Every one of us is a thinking consciousness. And we're free in any moment to think anything we choose, anything we desire. The problem is we become so enwrapped in what has been put out there with the advertising media, what our parents have taught us, that we become literally brainwashed into thinking that the outer world is our source. So I got a quote today, and it's from the great philosophical spiritual counselor, George Carlin. And George Carlin said this: trying to be happy by accumulating stuff is like trying to cure hunger by taping sandwiches all over your body. Did you hear that? So if you truly believe that having that new car, having a different partner, having all of these things are going to make you happy, oh, in this case, ladies, having another pair of shoes, and gentlemen, having that specific beer ready for you, that's like taking and putting sandwiches all over your body. And if you would let that go, you would look much thinner. So we've been conditioned to this. And what I want to go to is that there's nothing wrong with the material world. The material world actually is there to make us comfortable, but it is not the source of our happiness. See, isn't it much nicer living in 2012 on this day, August 19th, in this hotel with air conditioning in Texas in the midst of summer? Or would you rather be here 100 years ago where we'd be in a tent and there'd be no air conditioning and we'd be sweating? The idea of having comfort is wonderful, but it is not the source of our happiness. So how is it that we can take wherever we are and become happy? The first thing we must do is we must accept where we are. No matter what it looks like, no matter who our partner is, who our parents were, what children we have, what children we don't have, what ethnicity we were brought in, what part of town we were living in, what horrific or jubilant experiences we might have had growing up, none of that matters. We just accept it. It's in the past, and we're present right here, and we're perfect right here. The next thing is, once we've accepted who we are, we have to make a decision. And that decision is to be happy. So what does it mean to make that decision? It means to never complain. Because does complaining exhibit happiness? Or is complaining basically saying there's a lack? And that complaining by saying there's a lack, saying because of the lack, I'm unhappy. But the fact of the matter is you're really not happy because of a lack of something you don't have. That's been pre-drilled into us because we've been taught by the materialistic society we live in that we have to have things bringing us happiness. So why do you go to when you look at the commercials, what are the commercials doing? You had Michael Jackson popping up a Pepsi saying, dancing and doing all this great stuff. If you have this, you'll be happy. You have another one driving a specific car, or they're wearing Liz Taylor with this perfume. You have this perfume, romance, and the men will come flocking. The man who has never seen you before will all of a sudden re-recognize your femininity. That's not what a man recognizes. What a man recognizes is the energy that is put out by who you are being in a moment. That's what a woman recognizes in a man. When there is an attraction that comes in, an instant attraction between people, it's not because they look like what they look like. It's because of who they're being. There's an energetic out there because quantum physics would tell you that each of us puts out a vibration because we're energy. And as we vibrate, there's an energy that's put out into the universe. And the energy that we're putting out into the universe attracts to it like energy. Are you hearing that? So it's the like energy that we put out at what's bringing into our experience. So if we're having an experience where a lot of people are coming up and they're complaining and they're whining and they're moaning, and it's a habit, it's not because you just happen to be there. It's because you have an energy that is receptive to that. I had to look at that for myself and find that to be true. So the idea of stop complaining, with that there's its sister, stop criticizing. When we criticize, we're saying to another person they are not good enough, which means there's a standard that they must live up to for us to be happy. Did you hear that? We only criticize when someone is not living up to our standard. So it's something outside of us we're seeking to bring us happiness. So if we're happy with ourselves and we're giving ourselves freedom to be this happiness, which means we've got to give it to others, that means they have to be free. Well, guess what? If we say to another that you're free, it means that, yes, you're free from my criticism. Do you hear that? Because you can't give to someone else what you're not giving to yourself. The other idea is we have to watch our conversation. Because when our conversation gets negative, we tend to build a vibration and attract more. So if we're in a conversation and the conversation's becoming negative, the idea is switch the conversation. Ask a question to take it in a different direction. Say, if someone's complaining about how bad they feel, you could say, so what would make you feel better? What could we talk about that would cause that feeling within you to change? Because as you talk, you have thoughts. And if you can get someone's thought process to start changing, the creative process in them will now become different. The other thing about being happy is about appreciating what you already have. We have so much going for us, and we forget it over and over and over again, because what I find for myself is that I'm a car guy, and I love cars. And I used to play this game that, you know, if I had that car, I'd be happier. Or if I had that car, I'd be happier. What about if I had that car and I saw that car, would I be happier? And so I was always creating a state of want when I really had, at that time, the car that was perfect. I used to do that about women when I was dating. I used to have a girlfriend, and I would always be looking at other women saying, would I be happier with her? What if I had her? Would I be happier with her? And so where was I in the state of relationship? I was unhappy. It had nothing to do with who the partner was. It was a state of mind through which I was coming from, because I wasn't seeing the beauty of what was right there in front of me. Here's another thing about being happy. It's about doing new and different things. People say, why new and different things? Because we were not born to be stagnant. We were born as consciousness, and the only point of consciousness is to express itself. And in expressing itself, it's becoming more. So our whole purpose for being is to create a greater expression, to create a greater experience, to create more depth, to build on that which we've already created and build even more on that. And then to see from what we've created, to see if there's something more that we desire to express there. Or maybe we've created enough here and now we switch and we move our creative desires over here. So everything in life, all the contrast that we see everywhere, is about giving us ideas about what is the possibility that I may want to create more of or create new in my life today. One of the things that I like to do is I like to look at other people's relationships. I like to see and watch couples as they interact, because there are things that you can pick up, because there are couples that have unique ways of expressing happiness. And you see, the more I can study that, the more I can bring that into my relationship. Because I have a great relationship, but I think my relationship can still be more, because I understand that the creative process in me is always desiring to be more of itself. So that doesn't mean that I've got the perfect relationship and it doesn't grow. I think when we have the perfect relationship and it doesn't grow, it dies. I think the death to all relationships, the key to the divorce rate in this country or in the world, is because people stop the growing process. And they don't challenge each other to say, hey, let's try something new. How about if we look at it this way? How about if we look at it that way? The other thing that I want to say about being happy is surround yourself with happy people. If you're around downer type people all the time, you will tend to be what? Down. Because if you're with downer type people or sad people or unhappy people, they're putting out an energy. The only way you can be with them is to bring your energy to that level. And if you bring your energy to that level, you will be there. Nothing good happens by lowering the level of your consciousness to a level below where you are. It doesn't help you, and it doesn't help others. This idea that we become sympathetic with people, oh, you poor dear, oh, I feel for you. You mean your wife did that? Oh my God, let me tell you more stories about it. We start doing that, and where does the energy go? It goes down. It comes out of happiness. It goes back now. When I was doing that, didn't you see how it went back to complaining? We don't do that. It went back to criticizing. We don't do that. You see, there is this energetic flow that's there. The creative process is so simple. It starts with imagining something we want. And after we imagine it and it becomes so real for us, we make a decision. We make a decision that we're going to become the person who would be in that situation or have that experience. You see, it's not about having something, it's becoming the person who would be that. And once we've made the decision, then we take all of our actions, we line them up. So we talk about things that bring us joy. We surround ourselves with joyful people. We create new things. You see, one of the things that happens, I fully understand, when we can be satisfied where we are, and then we can be in the flow of becoming that what we've chosen, and we're acting upon that, and while doing all that, still be happy where we are, we're immersed in a creative loop. And in that creative loop, there's happiness. Did you follow that? Let me really say that again. So if we're satisfied where we are, there's a peace in that, isn't that? You're at peace with everything in your life. But at the same time, you know that you're evolving. You know that you're becoming more. And you've set a clear direction. That gives you a zest. It gives you desire. You're becoming more. There's an enthusiasm. When you find something new, let's say you decide you want to cook and you found a new recipe that really lightened you up. Having that new recipe really gives you a joy. So you're satisfied where you are. You've got this new recipe. Now you're in the process of creating. You're cooking. And in that process of cooking, doing it joyfully because you're happy where you are, you've set the intention, you're going in the direction, now your actions are in alignment, and you've got bliss, and now you've tasted the food. So one of the new hobbies that I've taken on is to become a great vegan cook. And so the other night I want to share with you, I found the most fantastic recipe for onion rolls. Because onion rolls are like some of my favorite things in the world. And so I'm satisfied where I am. I set the intention of this great onion roll, found the recipe, and I joyfully went about the process. And in the process, it's not a process that's done in 5 minutes. You got to get the ingredients, you got to mix them, you got to knead the dough, then you got to let the dough set, and then you got to flatten it out, then you put some onions in it, then you roll it back up and you let it set again, and then you bake it. Well, I want to tell you, I did that, and I was downstairs working, and I heard the alarm of the oven go off, and the house smelled magnificent. Do you know what it's like to smell fresh bread? I mean, not only fresh bread, but onions. Onions and fresh bread. I mean, that's like utopia. That's like paradise. Is your mouth not watering? You want some butter to put on it? It's so good. So I go up and I open the oven and I look. And I said, my God, they're rather skinny. Something I had done, the yeast had not risen. And so I pulled them out and I picked one of them up and I said, oh my God, it's a brick. It's like a hockey puck. Now, I did not get upset, but I realized there's yet another challenge for me. So now I'm in quest. How do I get the right yeast so that the bread rises enough so I get a fluffy and light roll? You see, I didn't let the effect take me down. I went back to what was the quest, and I says, okay, I've got to now find a new way to make this quest happen for me. So you see, my enthusiasm is just as good as anything. The next morning, though, my wife gets up, and she picks up these 9 hockey pucks, and she's walking out to the garage. I says, where are you going with them? She says, I'm throwing them away. And I felt a little tug, because those were my first babies. But you see, here's the analogy. I had to let them go so I could create more. Do you see that? There are things in our lives that have not worked for us, and we hold on to them too long, and when we're holding on to them, there's no room for the newness to come in. Sometimes we have to let go of things. Sometimes we have to let go of past experiences. Sometimes we let go of people. We let go of people because at this time, we do not vibrate in a way that is conducive to happiness for either one of us. Doesn't mean it'll always remain that way, but at this time, it may not be working. I'm a believer that if we are in a toxic situation, that sometimes in order to change that situation, we remove ourselves from the situation because we're so humanly attached. And it's only in the removal that we can begin to shift our process. Because sometimes when we're in that situation, it's very difficult to shift our mind and to have the new thought and to go in a new direction. Sometimes we literally have to make a physical move. It's the whole idea what neurolinguistic programming teaches you. There's a physical way of making yourself feel better. Everyone's seated right now. Immediately now sit and get your back straight. Sit in a posture that's very erect. Put a grin on your face. Put a smile on your face. My twins, put a smile on your face. Feel the difference in your energy? Everything shifted by that simple move. All it took was a decision. You see, we set an intention with our day, either unconsciously or consciously when we wake up in the morning. Most people, when they wake up in the morning, they walk in the shower and unconsciously do whatever they do. For me, it's I take the bar slope in the right hand and I slop it into the armpit on the left. Other people do other things. The first thing, you like that? The first thing I do in the morning now is I set the intention that today will be a joyful day. I set the intention that my thoughts will be programmed to joy. I set the intention that the people I will meet and come in contact with in this day, I will have joy and happiness with them. I set the intention that I will be guided to those events and situations and actions that will bring me joy in the up-leveling, in the becoming more of what I've chosen to be. And once I've set that, I make that my decision for the day so that as I proceed forward, I do not deviate from that. And if I find myself feeling down, if I find myself feeling emotionally upset, that's my trigger to realize I've come out of my intention. You see, when we have that negative emotion, it's telling us we're thinking or doing something that's not in the highest image of what we would like to do or be. Does that make sense? So what's the key to happiness? It's to decide. And each of you will decide what happiness is for you in a different way. But once you decide, then it's up to you to put every thought, word, action into that decision. Because as you do, you will demonstrate the creative process, and you will prove to yourself that the power that you've looked for to create a joyful and happy life has always been in you.